Welcome to Healing Medicine, formerly the Mindful Healers podcast.
This is the podcast for physicians and healthcare professionals who crave balance and purpose. If you want to rediscover your love for medicine and life, one mindful step at a time, you are in the right place. We are Dr. Jessie Mahoney
and Dr. Ni-Cheng Liang, physicians who bring decades of experience in physician health and wellness and leadership to the wellness conversation. Like so many of you, we felt the exhaustion, the disillusionment, and the weight of a career that demands so much, often at the expense of our own well-being.
In this podcast, we explore mindfulness, mindset, and real, sustainable health and well-being strategies.
Not as another task to add to your plate, but as a way to experience medicine and life differently.
Each episode dives into practical strategies, coaching tools, and real conversations to help you feel more present, fulfilled, and in control.
When we are healthy and well, we become powerful agents of change.
If you're ready to break free from exhaustion, cynicism, overwhelm, feeling ineffectual and stuck, and rediscover joy and presence, you are in the right place.
A life and a career that truly fits you await.
Reminder that nothing in this podcast is medical advice.
Thanks so much for coming to listen to our episode on Move to Heal, Exploring the Medicine of Motion with Dr. Amy Valasek. So, have you ever known, maybe deep down, that there's more to practicing medicine than this, that you wanted more for yourself and your patients? Maybe you've ever thought, how can I change the way that I help others? Well, then this episode is for you. A very special welcome to my medical school classmate, Dr. Amy Valasek, who I met again at our 20th med school reunion. Gosh, I am totally revealing my age by sharing that. So thank you so much, Amy, for being willing to come on our podcast. It was so wonderful to reconnect with you at our reunion.
Thank you so much for having me.
Dr. Amy Valasek is a physician for nationwide children's sports medicine and an associate professor in the Department of Pediatrics at the Ohio State University College of Medicine. She is fellowship trained and board certified in sports medicine. She completed her residency at Johns Hopkins University Hospital in the Department of Pediatrics and Sports Medicine Fellowship at University of Maryland Family Medicine Department in Baltimore. She is also, very cool and interestingly, a team physician at New Albany Plains local school football team. And the reason why I invited her on our podcast, a group fitness instructor and a mother of 2 athletes. She's also the recipient of the 2024 President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition Community Leadership Award, which recognizes those who foster and guide healthier communities through initiatives in sports, exercise, wellness, and nutrition. And of course, she graduated with me in 2005 from the University of Maryland School of Medicine. So Amy, welcome and thank you again. During our reunion, you shared with me about your fitness classes for your patients and how you've incorporated them into your practice of medicine. What really stood out to me about our reconnecting encounter was how you lit up when you showed me some of the photos of you teaching and of your patients and the joy that really emanated from you while you were sharing that with me, and also from the pictures between both your patients and yourself. And that's when I absolutely knew I needed to interview for our podcast. So I also wanted to share with our dear listenership a fun fact about you in the highlight article that I will include in our show notes, written about you in City Scene, that you were apparently part of a beer soccer league in medical school, like unbeknownst to me, for 4 years. So that is so cool. And now you're a 6 program certified Les Mills instructor. I'm using the French pronunciation, so excuse me, Les Mills. And I also wanted to share that we both, you and I, have this deep love for movement, because even though apparently you were in this soccer league in med school, I was also in a league in med school playing rec league volleyball with some of our classmates. And I think the timing of this podcast is really cool because I'm getting ready to lead and race with my women cancer survivor team, the Team Survivor San Diego Sea Dragons, this weekend in the Long Beach Dragon Boat Festival. And both my kids are athletes too. My eldest is going to be getting ready for club volleyball tryouts this weekend, and my little one is in swim and parkour classes. So I think it's really clear that movement is such an integral part of both of our lives on multiple levels, for not just ourselves, but for our family and for our patients. So, Amy, can you share with our listeners more about your journey in incorporating group fitness classes from Les Mills into your practice of medicine?
Sure, absolutely. I think first off, thank you for having me. The story definitely is rooted into my own personal childhood. I grew up in Philadelphia and come from a background of 5 kids. I'm the oldest, and I was the first to attend college. And we didn't have a lot growing up. At the same time, we had plenty. We had what we needed. And one of the things that was instilled at a young age was movement. We were always outside playing, free play. I lived in the city, and we often were playing wiffle ball or street hockey versus travel teams and things that we see today. And it really helped ground me, movement, into understanding my own body of times of stress in my life. I really enjoyed that outlet of movement, whether it was sports related activity or going for a run. And subsequently in high school, as a multi-sport athlete, that's when it really grounded me. The idea of I needed an outlet that definitely connected mind, body, and soul. There was another part to me that needed nourishment in a way to stay grounded and rooted in times of whether it was academic stress or friend stress, family stress, whatever it was. And subsequently throughout college, it was very important. And fast forward, when I arrived at Nationwide Children's Hospital, there was a new opportunity for myself, my position, to be placed in a building that was a joint venture between Ohio State, Nationwide Children's Hospital, and the community of New Albany. So essentially in one building, there were medical offices, physical therapy, the group fitness, the fitness space, which is Ohio State's health and fitness center, all under one space, as well as a community center. So that's where I started. And in sports medicine, we're often promoting exercise. We know that it is vital for health and wellness, especially at a young age. When kids do not exercise early, they do not develop their fundamental movement skills and have trouble later on in life kind of progressing through physical literacy. And if without that fundamental movement and neuromuscular control, I think motor competency is harder later in life. With the obesity on the rise, it's also extremely important to have kids active at a young age. And we know for a fact, the more active you are when you're younger, the more productive you are while you're older. And so as a pediatrician, my primary specialty, it's very important to me to promote it. So when I arrived at this building for my position, it was pretty neat to work with an adult population alongside of them. I was the pediatric population, as well as being within this community center. And someone had asked me, would I be interested in teaching fitness classes there? And I paused and said, I'll think about it. On the back end, what I was trying to do in my own clinic was screen for exercise. One of the things we talk about in sports medicine is exercise is medicine. It's a different form of medicine, and it's probably the best medicine we have out there to date, hands down, for any condition overall, for lowering chronic disease and lowering risk factors of other chronic diseases. So in general, I was asking kids, how many minutes a day do you exercise? How many days a week do you exercise? And what do you do? We would expect in pediatrics for kids to get 60 minutes a day, 7 days a week of exercise, so 420 minutes. And in pediatric sports medicine, just asking the general question, talking it through with families, having them estimate as best they could for their child or teenager, estimating, I was seeing I get 0 minutes or I get 1,400 minutes a week, 1,500 minutes a week. So a lot of overuse injuries and a lot of underuse injuries. And nobody was really in the middle. Like, I exercise an hour a day. It was either I do nothing or I do 3-hour, 4-hour practices, 4, 5, 7 days a week. So with that in the background, I was trying to start to write exercise prescriptions for my patients. So having counseled them, but write out, this is what I think you should do, tailor it down, increase it. This is how you could do it with your physical literacy skills or your injury. And truthfully, it was a lot of red tape of trying to get it into the electronic medical record, into the computer system, and I found it pretty frustrating overall. And the reality was, I think many patients' families didn't want another piece of paper, truthfully. So as I was kind of getting frustrated with moving that process forward, this fitness instructor question was posed to me. And I thought, after I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I'll go to the certification and just see what it's about. I don't envision myself doing it, but it would certainly be more active and hands-on than me giving a piece of paper. And I went this particular weekend in 2017 to a Les Mills course certification, and the rest was history. I haven't looked back.
Wow, what an amazing journey. So it was almost like the stars kind of aligned, because as you were meeting some resistance in the execution of these exercise prescriptions in a more organized fashion, this fitness teaching opportunity arose concurrently. And
Yep.
What was it about that group fitness opportunity that made you say, okay, yes?
So when I went to the certification, it was put on by this particular community center. So there were lots of peers in my community who were undergoing the certification for real. And I was just kind of observing. And what I began to notice is so much commonality we had. Many of these instructors were also in healthcare. Physical therapists, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, and I just kind of hit it off. And I believe I had a limiting belief for my own self that I couldn't do that and be a doctor. A doctor is a very rigid box that I need to fill in my head and get this exercise prescription really teed up in the electronic health medical record. And in reality, I could deliver a much better exercise prescription hands-on, live.
Mm-hmm.
And so watching peers do this, and that particular weekend, I think that's what stood out.
So it was like a curiosity driven motivation, and then seeing not just yourself as a physician, but like the whole of the healthcare community also come together in learning this movement as medicine modality. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And then, so fast forwarding to incorporating that into your day to day, because I know you're a busy clinician between nationwide, but also being like a team physician. How did these group fitness classes play out into your schedule? And what was it like to kind of pitch it to physician leadership too?
So, in general, I found through this whole journey, I had to do this on my own clinical time.
Hmm.
Um, and I became fine with that. Was unable to get any release time, FTE wise, and being in academic medicine. Um, I think that's another side of me and another box. And naturally, I am an early riser, so I teach at 5:45 in the morning, 3 days a week. Currently, for the last 6 years, 7 years, as well as on the weekend. Sometimes I'll fill in the evenings. That's a bit harder as a mom of two daughters. So usually they don't have to get anywhere super early, and I'm up. And that early morning crowd, I tell you, it's a motivated bunch of individuals, and everybody wants to get in, get a wonderful workout, start their day off right. And so you just naturally develop this community, which I thrive off of. And I think vice versa, they thrive off of. They expect a delivery of a good experience, truthfully. They're starting their day with that. So yeah, that's kind of how I fit it in. It was not, I was not able to get release time for it.
So, because you weren't able to put it in your day to day physician schedule and you're adding it on top of your already busy day, it seemed like you were still highly motivated to incorporate it regardless, and that you were getting compensated not just potentially monetarily, but also you yourself, like from a mind, body, spirit perspective, also got some reciprocation of certain gifts of that teaching experience. Can you share more about how you feel like you might be getting compensated with this dedication and being such a morning lark and doing these fitness classes so early?
So, like, the financial compensation is minimal. It is null and void. It doesn't even come close to the amount of time, energy, effort I put into delivering a Les Mills workout.
Mm-hmm.
In general, once you're certified, you have the rubric, you have the idea of what that particular workout should be, but kind of very similar in medicine. See one, do one, teach one. It's a very similar philosophy. So in a way, their delivery and their certification stuck with me immediately, like once I learned it. And I really like that because it gives me time to process, practice, and then deliver in an appropriate, safe way. But the way I use it is I often have teenagers who come to my practice and their parents. And one thing will lead to another of these exercise questions. And they'll say, I wish I knew how to lift weights. The weight room at the high school, I don't find safe, especially I hear that very commonly for young ladies. And so pre-COVID, of course, it was COVID that ruined it. I had a group of, I believe, 11 high school athletes that came at 5:45 before school on top of the regular folks. We did body pump every Wednesday, nailed it, crushed it. And really, I see them today as they're post high school, and that's where they learn to lift, like in a very safe environment. And I was happy to lead them through that. A proper deadlift technique or clean and press. And so in general, in my practice, a lot of the families or my patients that'll come up in conversation, or what exercises I should do, or I don't know what app to download, or I don't feel comfortable. And it's not too uncommon for me to say, why don't you come? In general, you do have to join the fitness center. Most of them, my patients, are in the community and have a tie there. So it's kind of easy to like come with a friend or a parent. And that's kind of how I've grown it, truthfully.
Mhm, mhm. That's wonderful that there is such a resource for our youth. And then also with specifically your patients, like to be able to have you not just as a physician, but also as like their literal movement instructor
Yeah.
to provide even more safety.
Truly, Ni-Cheng, it's hilarious when they don't realize it's me and I'm up front and they come in like at the last second with their buddies, and then they turn around and they're like, wait a second, you were my doctor. And it's hilarious. Like if it didn't come up in conversation, and that also happens. But to me, I take pride. The most pride and joy I have is truly trying to deliver a healthy, meaningful experience, whatever I'm teaching. I think that means the most to me, and that is definitely what I would think the community members that come would say. I definitely take pride in that.
It shows for sure. And within that experience, can you tell us more about Les Mills? Like, what are some of the activities? You mentioned body pump. So I'm guessing that's a weightlifting program protocol, like resistance training, and then
Yes.
other ones, because I saw other pictures of different
Yeah.
activities.
So I ended up going that route. I did get like my baseline exercise certification through ACE, and then an exercises medicine certification through ACSM, American College of Sports Medicine. But the Les Mills is a little more specialized, I guess you can think of it. So I have my two general, and then the Les Mills is more specialized for certain programs. And to date, believe I'm up to 6 programs, but body pump is resistance training. Body combat, which is my absolute favorite to teach, is boxing, Muay Thai, karate. Open my eyes to a whole nother genre of movement. Um, and I believe the members absolutely love it. There's nothing like it. A couple other formats I teach: body balance is yoga, Pilates, and Tai Chi, a blend of all of that together in a 45-minute to an hour class. Shapes is Pilates and tone is a version of cardio strength as well as core. So kind of like a boot camp style class. And then the last one is core, where I started, which is a solid 30 to 45 minutes, core, shoulders to glute kind of workout. So all of them are pretty popular. Body combat is the most popular, as well as body pump.
I wish we lived closer to each other because I would totally be motivated to join you in your classes, even though it's like way earlier than I usually get up because I am a night owl.
Well,
Very
it's
opposite.
If, I think you just do what you do well, and that definitely I'm most fresh in the morning. In the evenings, it's harder after a long clinical day to be on point and engage the way I want to engage, or deliver my words or cues the way I'd like to do it. I think the most rewarding thing that's come out of Les Mills is I've gotten to do some clinical research with them recently. So I paired with their research arm, and as well as there is a nonprofit in Columbus, Ohio called Buddy Up. And Buddy Up was started actually in my own hometown here in New Albany, Ohio. And it is a nonprofit for kids, adaptive athletes with Down syndrome. and they were looking 2 years ago to start more group fitness experiences for these youngsters, ages 15 and up. And I said yes. And again, it had to be outside of my clinical time. So I did use some vacation time trying to, get where I needed to be to deliver it for them after school. But here we are 2 years in, and that has been the most rewarding as well, working with these adaptive athletes that don't have an outlet for cardiovascular fitness. And I believe this last session that we did in the spring, we often had about 13 to 15, 16 kids in the class. And they asked for pretty much two things, rap and punching. So body combat, they really, really, really like that. So it came in full circle this past fall. I was on the sideline for the New Albany football team, and one of the adaptive athletes walked by, and he says, "Hey, Doc, how you doing? I've been working on my jabs and my hooks. I'm working." And everyone just looked at me and they were like, only you would be able to teach that, right? And so like being able to make a mark and an impression on folks that don't have means to integrate and be a part, it's awesome to create a safe space, I think. And that is kind of what really has me going. I know I'm on the right path, right? Like when I thought of this a few years back and then I was hesitant and should I do it? It's just naturally, organically grown and provided so much joy back. I wouldn't stop doing it.
Wow, that's really, really powerful. It brings you great joy to be able to do this. It seems like it emanates from you. You light up when you talk about it. And for those listeners who aren't going to be planning on watching the YouTube, Dr. Valasek was also punching and jabbing at the screen when she was telling us that story. So I recommend you go back to the YouTube clip and check it out because it was pretty awesome. So I am really encouraged to hear that you didn't let physician leadership stop you from trying something, even if you had to add it, quote unquote, on top of your clinical time. It seemed like this piece of medicine in your practice of medicine was important enough that, and it also was an alignment enough for you to add it in addition to, and now it's kind of seamlessly become part of your practice of medicine. It seems like it's not like it no longer seems like separate from.
Yeah. It's just been integrated naturally.
Did you feel any like time scarcity about becoming a group fitness instructor in the time of training during this, between like your kids and your busy clinical practice plus the certification training? Like how did you kind of navigate that challenge?
The best way I could summarize is I just did it and found a way to fit it in as best I could. Some of the trainings I might have had to have asked for an extension. So to meet the requirements, meaning I had a busy clinical month, or my girls are now in high school, so they were in elementary and middle school. They often needed, driven practices, things like that. But in general, I just did it. It definitely came more natural than writing a research paper, which I did do too. Yes. But I kept up my academics. But I'm telling you, for folks out there listening, the ability to share knowledge in the health, from a healthcare standpoint, in the health and fitness space, the dividends of what it gives you back, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's almost you can't quantify it almost. It's like leaps and
No.
bounds on a mind, body, spirit level
Yeah.
of that, of what you get back in teaching it. Uh, it's so inspiring, Amy. Thank you so much for
You.
not letting the box of allopathic medicine and what traditional cogwheel kind of industrialized medicine keep you from basically practicing medicine on your own terms in your own way that you have felt was ultimately better for you and your patients. What have been some things that you've witnessed besides getting called out on the sideline of a football game by one of your students? What have you witnessed? Like any transformative stories that you've witnessed amongst your patients after or during the group fitness classes that you've taught?
I do believe the connection that people have over the years of teaching. Um, More members join, some come and go because of jobs, but there is a genuine connection of who is new in the room. We are going to help you set up the respect that has been created and the true care and concern that folks have for one another. That makes me super proud and to bring great joy. And then I think also from a medical standpoint, once I embraced, it took me like a year or so, if I'm honest with the audience and you, to really embrace being a physician. Initially, I thought I had to keep it separate. I was scared to say I'm a doctor. I don't know why, but I do know why. I think there was this fear of I'm doing something different. I'm doing it on my own path without leadership support. And then, if we're always honest with ourselves, the fear of being sued.
Mm-hmm.
In general,
Yeah.
in sports medicine, there's a high liability. So you're taught about service agreements and such. And so once I did an advanced training through Les Mills, and it was really transformative a year into this journey. And point blank, the mentor asked me, why am I so hesitant? And I said exactly what I had just said to you. And he said, well, that's a silly thing to think. That's a pretty stark limiting belief. Like, would you ever deliver something to cause harm?
Mm-hmm.
Something so off the wall that's going to cause, like, I don't know, an acute medical condition. Like, is that what you're aiming to do? And my obvious answer is no. It's health and wellness and movement and fitness. And they were like, well, you're on it. You got it. And you're the most knowledgeable in the room. And you need to embrace that. And I really pondered on that. And I never introduced myself as a doctor, but I certainly use my medical knowledge to deliver whatever movement it is or connect that to the exercise. I often give tips of, hey, we're going to build some good dopamine today, and whatever journal article I read that connects exercise and medicine together, I often give little tidbits throughout the class, which I they were right. I needed to embrace that side of me, and that helps me deliver a more confident approach instead of kind of keeping things separate or boxed in and out. So I've really embraced it, and it's a part of who I am.
Yeah, you're showing up as your authentic self
Yes.
in all of the different roles that you play day to day in ways that are so in alignment for you. And really, your family and your patients, and most importantly, yourself benefit from that, showing up bravely as your authentic self with all of your different parts. So I wanted to switch gears just a little bit because we have many of our listeners are also parents of athletes and are athletes themselves. So, because I read something in the article that I wanted you to highlight for our listeners, what advice do you have for the parents of athletes moving forward as we watch our kids grow up and matriculate in their different sports or one specialized sport, for instance? What tips do you have?
So I think tip number one is keep kids moving, keep them active. That's how they develop fundamental movement skills for life, not just for high school or middle school. You want them an athlete for life. And in thinking that, it is extremely important for kids to do a variety of activities. In the sports medicine literature, there have been a number of studies that show when kids exercise more than their age in years, so a 12-year-old who exercises in gymnastics 8 hours a week, they likely do well. A 12-year-old that is in gymnastics 24 hours a week, which I often see in the office, they have overuse injuries. And majority of pediatric overuse injuries can be prevented by toning it down, a variety. So 3 months off throughout the year, a winter, summer, spring, sport, etc. And in a way, that's exactly how I grew up. You know, we did a variety of things and never specialized. Having two daughters growing up in our specialized culture of sports today, it's been hard. It's been hard to navigate. For instance, both of them increased levels in dance, and then we had to make a decision of in a ballet structure to go pre-pro or pull out. And in general, we pulled out, and that was a big decision for them, but they got exactly what they needed in that training to develop their muscles and their skills and their body. And then they pivoted to different sports, and they both tried a bunch of different things. And we have never signed up for the travel leagues, travel specialized clinics. And so far, we've done quite well. But I see the opposite in the office. And I do believe as parents, it's really hard to navigate because youth sports has become a business. Kids, they have their own NIL. There's apps that rank 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds in performance. There's some real intensity to these weekend tournaments. It's not uncommon. I see someone on a Monday morning, their knee is hurting or ankle's swollen, and they said, I played 9 games throughout the weekend of whatever sport it is. I'm just kind of not even exaggerating. It is pushed so far on one end, and then it leaves out a bunch of kids on the other end. Unfortunately, there's many kids that I see that never develop those fundamental movement skills, and they would love to be on the club volleyball team, but they can't move well, and they don't make the club volleyball team, and then they become inactive. So it's trying to keep your kids in the middle is what I would say. A little bit specialized is fine, but in general, hyper specialized at a young age, it's hard to maintain and often leads to burnout, injury, and lots of doctor's visits.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I could definitely use some of that advice in my own high school athlete who is specialized in volleyball at this point. So thank you for all of those very important reminders and tips. I also wanted to put in a plug-in for my patient population. They are in general way older than yours, Amy, being an adult pulmonologist. And honestly, over the last 20 years of being a physician with you, I see movement also as one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful medicine. The patients that I see who are in their 90s, 80s, and above are the ones that are like, oh, doc, I went to play pickleball, and I went to my jazzercise class, and it's the group fitness component that I feel like brings their health, mind, body, and spirit into an optimal range for them that is age appropriate. So a plug, especially for chronic lung diseases like asthma and COPD, and oftentimes with long COVID as well, that movement can be very, very helpful. And to not forget about thinking about whether or not your patient who is an adult might be a candidate for cardiac and or pulmonary rehabilitation. I think those are underutilized healing modalities that are readily available to us within medicine. So, Dr. Valasek, thank you so much for sharing your story, your wisdom, your tips with our listeners. If there's one take-home message that you want them to leave with, what would that be?
Think big, think big and provoke change in healthcare.
Awesome.
That would be my take-home message. Don't be brave.
And if they would like to get in touch with you, how can they reach you?
Email would be fine. My email would be great, and I can send that to you.
Okay, great. So we'll include Amy's email in the show notes. And so, dear listener, if you're wondering whether or not to go to med school reunion or other type of school reunion, please consider doing so, because you never know what might come from reconnecting, like having a podcast guest or getting interviewed for a podcast and learning a great deal from one of your former classmates. If you're a healer and you haven't joined us already, please check us out in the Mindful Healthcare Collective Facebook group and mindfulhealthcarecollective.com. Contact me or my esteemed co-host, Dr. Jessie Mahoney, if you'd like to bring healing to yourself and or your colleagues by leading a workshop or a retreat with one of us or both of us. Thanks so much for listening. Please stay on after the sound of the singing bowl for our mindful moment offering. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to stay on after the sound of the singing bowl for our mindful moment offering to practice.
Please check the show notes for additional resources and insights, and please explore our other episodes.
If our message resonates, we'd love to connect further. Please share this podcast with colleagues, friends, and family members. And remember, when you work with us, you don't just consume information, you create real change.
We offer coaching, mindfulness experiences, workshops, retreats, and talks. Visit healingmedicinepodcast.com to learn more.
Please note the content of this podcast is not medical or life advice. Always participate in our mindful moments safely.
So next, for our movement and mindful practice, if you could align yourself in the chair in a seated position and find a position of comfort for you. Take the next 30 seconds to adjust your sit bones, hold those shoulder blades back and down, and just sit in a tall seated mountain pose position. Tuck that belly in with a nice gentle core brace. And perhaps you would prefer to close your eyes gently and kindly. Take those hands on your lap and perhaps open the palms to the sky or hand to heart space. If you have to readjust, feel free in a seated position and just start to tune in to your natural, beautiful breath, that rise and fall of the chest. Feel the warmth of the chest rise, and letting the breath exhale. through the toes. Take the next few seconds just to follow that gently and compassionately. Often in our own practice daily, it is hard to slow down, and slowing down, I find, is often profound. It's a profound way to connect back to yourself and your core, where you are and how you show up. The natural rise and fall that we all have of our breath is so beautiful and gentle when we give it space to be and space to connect with it. While you're seated, gently roll the ankles or wiggle the toes and just feel a little bit flexion and extension at the ankle joint. Just a little bit of movement. And bringing your hands by your sides, gently rolling the wrists for nice circular movement throughout the airspace. Working your way up towards the shoulders that carry so much stress and tension. Pull those shoulder blades back and down a few times, making some circles in a shrug. Gently opening those eyes and moving the head side to side, perhaps to the right or left, whatever serves you best. Gently turning over your right shoulder for a nice seated stretch. If you're looking to the right, you can put your right hand to the left leg for a little bit of a twist and hold it. And then head comes back to neutral and gently turning to your left shoulder. Your left arm can reach across your right leg for a seated twist as well. Feeling that in the upper spine. And bringing that back to neutral. Bringing those hands close to your heart center. And just being grateful and gracious for where we are today. Thank you so much for having me.